we're going to be looking at the subject of God being our friend. So the title is God is Our Friend. And this is one of the most amazing things that any of us can come to know and understand, because friendship is something that is absolutely precious to us as human beings. As humans, we want that relationship with one another. And of course, the most intimate relationship is that within the marriage, where the husband and wife come together and they become one. But even there in marriage, if you've got a strong friendship, that is the basis for very much else. But as life goes on, you find that your appearance changes, many things in your situation change. If you have children, and then there's a season where you give a lot of attention to your children, and then you have an empty nest. And this is why if you're friends with your spouse, that is able to see you through the hard times and through the good times, and you together as friends once again after your children have left. And I have a very, very close friend, well, two very close friends. And they live up in Howick in a retirement complex, or not a retirement complex, but they live in a complex in Howick. And I've stayed with them, and they are precious friends to me. And one of the things that I've noticed is what great friends they are. They've got children, they've got grandchildren, and yet they take so much joy in one another. They have fun together. They can tease each other. They don't get offended at one another, because over many years, 40-something years, their friendship has just grown and deepened. And it really is wonderful to see that. And when I look at them and I think about friendship, really it's that married couple that come to mind, because their friendship has been tested over the years and it's come through strong. But in a much, much more intense way, the friendship that God has with us grows and is strengthened constantly. And he is the friend, it says in the Bible, that sticks closer than a brother. I just want to look at Proverbs 18 and verse 24. And again, I'm reading in the New International Version, the NIV. And this is what it says. It says, nearly missed that. But it says, one who has unreliable friends soon comes to ruin. But there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother. And that friend that sticks closer than a brother is Jesus. And I was thinking about something just this morning, thinking about how Jesus really epitomizes what friendship is. Because if you think of it, if you think of your own friends, and I can think of my friends from the time, throughout my entire life, and I haven't always had good experiences with friends. I've had some very, very difficult experiences. And one of the things that Jesus had to endure was very much the same thing. He was betrayed by one of his 12 disciples. I'll get onto that in a moment. But if you just think of friends and how David speaks about a friend he had, and he said, we used to enjoy sweet companionship together when we went up to the house of the Lord. And he said, but now you've lifted your heel against me. You broke bread with me, but now you've turned against me. And I think that is a sad reality in the world we live in, that often people that we've committed ourselves to in friendship, the minute we are of no use to them any longer, that friendship just evaporates. Or friends can gossip with other people that know you about you. There's so many things that can be negative about friendships, but there are also so many that are positive. And I had an old lady friend in Texas, in Dallas. She was a native Texan, and she found me when I was a student, because I attended the same church that she did. And she sort of adopted me. And she would always take me to her home. She'd come and pick me up in her car and take me to various places. And we all called her Nana Lou. And I was her first South African. But after that, I introduced Kim and Jane Clement to her, and she and I used to go down to where they were staying in Longview, Texas, and we would always take down groceries, and we would go, and Nana Lou would clean the house, and I would get things done for Jane. And after that, after me and then Kim and Jane, she just kept up until the time of her death with having one South African after another that she sort of adopted. And the thing about Nana Lou was that she was one of the most faithful friends I think anybody could have. I remember a time that I knew that I'd heard that somebody had spoken about me to her and had said things that really weren't true. And I was so concerned that she would think that this was true. And I went to her and I said to her, Lou, I just have to speak to you about this, and started to talk, and she just held up her hand and she said, you don't have to go on, dearie. She said, my friends leave me, I never leave them. And isn't that wonderful? You know, your friends can leave you, but you will maintain your friendship with them regardless. They've got to walk away from you, but you will never walk away from them. And that's something that has been like a thing that has also shown me so much about Jesus. Because Nana Lou, who's now gone to be with the Lord, she's been gone quite a number of years, was a beautiful old lady, but she was a human being and she was finite. And you know, when we are finite human beings, we can only give love to a certain degree, or we can only be friends to a certain degree. But Jesus is infinite. He has infinite patience, infinite kindness, infinite fun. You know, one of these days I'm going to be talking to you about the fact that God has a sense of humor and God enjoys fun. We wouldn't enjoy it ourselves if he didn't, because we're made in his image. So this is just a little foretaste of what's coming. If he's put adrenaline within us so that we can enjoy exciting, adventurous things, it's because he enjoys those too. But anyway, getting back to this thought I was having about him being infinite in the way in which he's our friend, he's never going to diminish that friendship. You know, we can walk away from him. He will never walk away from us. He's there. And you know, Paul the Apostle was speaking about a time when, this is in the very last letter he wrote in 2 Timothy 4, and he knew he was going to be executed. But he was writing to Timothy, who was his spiritual son, and he was explaining about a time when he was brought to trial. And this is what he said. He said, this is in 2 Timothy 4, verses 16 and 17. He said, at my first defense, no one came to my support, but everyone deserted me. May it not be held against them. And you know, Paul was somebody who really gave his life for his friends. He took them on ministry trips with him. He shared his own platform with them because he was very well known, and yet he allowed real newcomers like Timothy and Silas and others to preach and to minister alongside him. And he said, and there were many others that he gave platforms to, but he said, everybody deserted me. He said, may it not be held against them. And then he said this. He said, but the Lord stood at my side and gave me strength, so that through me the message might be fully proclaimed and all the Gentiles might hear it. And I was delivered from the lion's mouth. And so that is just a very, very wonderful thought to me, that even if our friends desert us, the Lord will stand at our side and he will give us strength. And just to conclude this morning, I want to look at the fact that Jesus washed his disciples' feet. And, you know, he knew that Judas Iscariot was going to betray him. In fact, Judas had already gone to the Pharisees, and he'd received 30 pieces of silver from them in his betrayal. That's what they paid him. That was the cost or the price that was put on Jesus' head, which is actually a disgrace. But anyway, he had actually had in his possession 30 pieces of silver. And yet Jesus, knowing this, and knowing that Judas was going to go out and come and lead the way to where he was praying in the Garden of Gethsemane, and kiss him and say to him, just greet him and kiss him. So that Jesus responded and he said, do you betray the Son of Man with a kiss? And Judas did that. And yet with all of this knowledge, Jesus bent down and washed his feet. And it's not just a story in the Bible about somebody else. This is something that we can bring through into our own lives. And I know that some of you who are watching will feel that you've let God down on occasion. You might feel that you've even betrayed him, but it's usually a sense of disappointing him or letting him down. And yet you know what? That is something he knew when he saved you. He knew that there were going to be times when you almost turned your back on him or did turn your back on him, and yet he never went anywhere. And so I just want to pray for you this morning. And I'd like you just to close your eyes and receive this. And Father, I pray for every person who is watching. And I ask, Lord, that the pain and the hurt of being betrayed by friends would be removed this day to be replaced by the absolute confidence in every heart, the knowledge that Jesus Christ will never, ever betray us. He'll never forsake us. He will never walk away from us. He is the one who sticks closer than a brother. And so bless you, and please take that thought out. Go and meditate. Proverbs 18:24, so that you know that friends may be unreliable, but there's a friend that sticks closer than a brother. God bless you.